This week we had the pleasure of speaking with Neva.
Now, I've been in the big band, I think 2.5, 3 years, and you came back. So I think you've come back to the big band.
Yes, yes. My daughter lives in San Francisco, and she has been wanting me to move out here from the East Coast. And so a couple of years ago, in 2016, I decided to rent a place in Rossmore for a couple of months to try it out, to see what it was like to live in California and see if I liked it and see if I liked Rossmore. And so to get ready for that, I was reading the Rossmore news online. I noticed that there was an article about the big band, and it had somebody's contact information. So I wrote that down. And when I came out here, I called and said, I'm out here for 2 months. Would you mind if I sat in? And they said, come ahead. So I did. And I really liked it. And when I came back, finally, permanently, I got in touch, and Mo remembered me. I was really impressed.
That was just, 2019?
That was just last year.
Yeah, okay. So where in the East Coast did you live?
I lived in Cape Cod most recently. I've lived a number of places in the Northeast. I've lived in Rochester, New York. I've lived in New Jersey, several places, and I've lived in Rhode Island.
Wow. Where did you grow up? I'm just curious.
Where did I grow up? I grew up in Western Pennsylvania for the first part of my life up until 6th grade, in a farming community, on a farm that wasn't active as a farm, but it was very rural. And then my dad got transferred to New Jersey, and so we moved to Nutley, New Jersey, which is a suburb of Newark. And so that's where I grew up. And then my parents moved down to the shore in New Jersey. And that was when I was in college. So, in many ways, I'm a Jersey girl.
Okay. But Cape Cod, I went, of course, I think California, I'm the California native, 3rd generation. I love California. But I've been to Cape Cod, and it's a lovely place too. So was it hard to make the decision?
It was hard because it just seemed a monumental thing to move 3,000 miles across the country. While it wasn't that painful to leave, it was just a monumental amount of work. I really like it out here. And one of the things is I'm kind of a rebel in a lot of ways, and pretty liberal. And I feel so much more comfortable out here than I did back east.
I started my teaching career in Northern Virginia. And there was, having spent my life up till then in California, and there's just something that's difficult to describe about it's the Eastern establishment. There's a different ethos.
Yes.
And I've never really been able to adequately explain it. It's just different.
It's just different. I just feel much freer out here to be myself instead of, second guessing myself every time I open my mouth with people that I don't know.
Yeah. California. It's great. Okay, back to Big Band. Why did you join? Are you a jazz lover or?
I'm new to jazz, fairly new. This is something in my later adult years I have learned to like. I played classical music, but I like jazz and I love the big band. And what I love is the sound. It's just being in the middle of that sound is just so incredible. When we do concert and people cheer and whistle like they were at a rock concert.
Neva, that's the closest you and I are going to come to that kind of. One of these questions is, what was your first day with the band like? Okay.
It took me a couple of weeks. I had old email addresses, but finally my email got to Mo somehow and he got back to me. But the fact that he remembered who I was from 4 years ago, and that just made me feel so welcome. And then for the first few rehearsals, I sat on the inner side of the flute section, across the row from the saxophones and the trombones and stuff. And the sound there is just really, you're really in the middle of it. And that was just so satisfying. It's just a
So,
very special sound.
yeah. Favorite memories last couple of years in the band?
Probably the first concert we played after I came back, that was when
Was it in the event center?
at the event center. Yes, may we see it again eventually.
Right.
No, that was I just could not believe that the audience hooted and hollered. Oh, and also one day this little folded up packet of paper fell out of my music book, the front pocket of my music book. And I said, "What is this?" And I opened it, and it was a note from the previous user of the book. And she says, you are about to start on a really special experience with a really special group of people. And sort of just, I hope,
Oh my gosh.
yes, basically, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.
Whenever I say goodbye, I want to remember that and do the same thing.
I decided that when I God forbid, turn in my book, I am going to put a note in saying, yes, you were right. Wishing well to my successor.
These books have been used, and certain pieces that I look in my book, there are notations, there's highlighting, there's, like, look what's coming kinds of stuff. So there's a sense that somebody owned it beforehand, but nothing quite so wonderful and personal as a note. What a great idea.
I was started off as a newspaper reporter, and I did that for about 13 years. And then I decided to go to law school because I had always wanted to do it. When I graduated from college in 1963, I wanted to do it, but it just didn't seem a viable profession for women at that point. And my father was really insistent that I, go out and that I graduate from school and get a job and not go on to further school. So I'd been working on the student newspaper at Cornell, which is a daily 5 days a week, daily newspaper.
Really? Whoa.
So it was good experience. And I got jobs on small paper and then a bigger paper when I moved to Rochester. And then I started covering the courts for the paper, and it renewed all my interest in law school. And I was seeing women there as prosecutors. Said to me, well, okay, this is possible. So I was a single parent with a daughter who was like in 5th or 6th grade, and I applied and got in, and then had to figure out how to pay for it. Off we went to Ithaca. We had 3 wonderful years in Ithaca, New York, which you've never been there, but it's really a beautiful, beautiful place. And so then I came back to Rochester and practiced law for a while, and in a big firm, and then went to the prosecutor's office for 6 years, which I enjoyed. And then I decided, my husband and I decided we wanted to travel. So I quit my job, and we took a 3-month trip to Southeast Asia, to a lot of different places, Papua New Guinea, American Samoa, an island in the Pacific, and to Thailand and Indonesia, saw lots of temples in Indonesia. And the last place on our trip was Tibet, which is really, really unique and special. And the scenery and the people are just wonderful. So I did that, and then I came back and I decided I did not, I wanted a job where I was in charge of something. So I tried to, look around for something. Nothing worked out. And then that summer we went on a vacation to Block Island in Rhode Island.
Yes, right.
And there was an inn for sale. And I thought, if I bought that inn, I could live here all year round instead of going for a week every year. And if you've never been to Block Island, it is truly a very, very special place. I vacationed there for about half a dozen years, and I would cry every time it was time to go home. Um, so I went home and investigated how I could do this, how to finance it. When I talked to the local bank in Westerly, Rhode Island, they were very encouraging, which I was surprised at. So, I went through all the process of getting a mortgage and getting the financing together and everything. And so we moved out there to Block Island, and I was there for 10 years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Running the inn.
Running the inn. Well, I ran the inn for about 9 years, and then I sold it. A friend and I started a consignment shop. I went to auctions in New England and bought antiques and rented a van and brought them back on the ferry. I can't believe I did this, but I did.
Yeah.
And then we decided it was time to leave the island, and I wanted to stay close to the ocean. I loved being close to the ocean. So that's when we moved to Cape Cod. And that satisfied my being close to the sea. It's just sort of lucked into an opportunity to work in the local district office of the congressman, Bill Delahunt, who represented Cape Cod and some of the mainland around there. Believe it or not, at the age of, what was I then, about 66, 67, I had to go there for a probation period. I ended up there for 7 years, and I worked primarily with immigrants. We gave a lot of counseling and advice to immigrants, and believe it or not, there are a lot of immigrants. There are about 15,000 immigrants on Cape Cod. They are people who have come there as on a work visa. The various hotels and restaurants bring them in, and then they end up staying.
You know what? You should be writing these articles. You're the journalist. You're the professional journalist. Your flute career.
I, like every kid in America, took piano lessons when I was a kid, and I enjoyed it, but I always wanted to play with a group. And finally, there was this opportunity between my freshman and sophomore years in high school they had a summer school program where you could learn an instrument. And so I decided to do that. When she brought it home, I kept trying to blow into it, not understanding that you blow into the flute like you blow into a Coke bottle to make a sound. You blow across the hole. I was putting my whole mouth over the hole and nothing was coming out. So I soon learned that was, how to do it correctly. And so I did a 6-week course, and then I joined the band in high school, which was a marching band in the fall for football games and a concert band in the winter, and did that and for 3 years. And then the first year of college. But when I got involved in the newspaper, really involved in the newspaper, I just couldn't do both. So I basically didn't play again until after my daughter went to college. So that was like about 25 years when I didn't play. When I moved to Block Island, I didn't do anything for the first couple of years, but then I started taking lessons, but that meant you had to go to take the ferry to the mainland. And my teacher sort of recruited me for a local concert band So I would take the ferry over. I'd go to practice.
Commitment.
Yeah. And then when I went to Cape Cod, I joined a band there, concert band there in Brewster, that its main activity was to play every Sunday from the end of June to Labor Day. They played a concert in one of the parks in Brewster, and there was a gazebo, the typical band shell, and this wonderful sloping lawn, and all these people. I mean, we would have hundreds of people there with their picnic lunches and their kids. It was just wonderful, and it was that old tradition of band concerts on the green. I mean, that goes back to the late 1800s. I'd look out at that audience and I'd say, we are continuing a tradition that is decades old. And many of the towns on Cape Cod have bands, for 15 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. How fun. That just sounds like so much fun. What's your favorite piece that the Rossmore Big Band plays?
I like the one we open with.
A-Train?
A-Train.
A-Train. You mentioned in your email to me that you sing in the gospel choir.
Oakland has a very famous gospel choir. They travel all over the world. And I heard once when I came out to visit my daughter, we went to hear them. And I said to myself, if I ever come out here, I want to do that. Well, it turns out I learned from somebody that they have a community choir. So I decided to participate in that.
It sounds like between big band, gospel music, and the foundation board, you don't have room for many other avocations, but
no, I don't. Very devotedly go to swim exercise and miss it. I've missed it terribly. It's what keeps me limber. One thing I've really enjoyed about the meetings this summer is to getting a little to know people in the band a little bit better. Yeah. That's been wonderful. We come, we practice, we leave, and I'm fairly new, and obviously a lot of y'all have been together for a long time. So I've really enjoyed getting to know people.
It was great to talk to you. Take care.